Well, good Monday evening. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. Sorry we're a couple minutes late. Things happen sometimes, and it's our show. We can come on 3 minutes late if we want to. We have a great show for you tonight. I know you guys are always interested whenever we have any Lab Test Now Eugene on. You're super interested because if we have learned many things from COVID, our reaction to COVID, one of the things we've learned is it's so important that we take control of our health care, that we are the boss and we know how we can do this. And so this is not just about COVID, although Any Lab Test Now does a ton of testing for COVID, anything you need. And Adam will be on to talk about that. Adam Bratland, one of the owners. But the other thing they do is like 8,000 different tests on everything. I went there for a number of different tests just because it's cheaper. I don't have good insurance. I can pay for it out of my HSA and I get the stuff done that I want. And then I can go to the doctor and say, this is what my test results were. Now, tell me what this means, or I can look it up myself. So it's taking charge of our healthcare, and they make that possible. Our other sponsor tonight is Adam's brother. We just keep everything in the family here. Dr. Michael Bratland, my dentist. I just went in last week, had my teeth cleaned before I go to Montana. And guess what? When I come back, I'll be going to him too. I'm going to make my trip so I can get my work done there. They're doing a crown special for $9.95. You have to mention Get Real with Rick Dancer, and Michael will do that for you. That's a crown if you don't have insurance. And he's one of our sponsors as well. So if you're looking for a dentist who is open to everyone, who doesn't check your passport, who doesn't check your status. He figures your dental health is your business, and he just wants to make sure you help take care of that. That's coming up tonight. Also, we have a special guest, somebody with Any Lab Test Now, a friend of mine, Albert Roy, and to talk about his experience at Any Lab Test Now. And at the end of the show, we're going to have a special tribute to a dear friend of mine, Frank Moore. Died last night at 99. He'll be 99 in a week. He didn't quite make it to 99. He told me he was going to live to 110. I don't want to live to 110. And but he passed away last night. And years ago, I did a story on him, and you're going to love it. It's going to be a great way to say a true Oregonian has passed, and he had great value to our community and to our state. But first, we're going to start off with none other than Bill Lundun, and I'm just going to warn you. He gave me a little warning. Some of the news he's going to have tonight, it's not going to make you very happy. Who puts up with this? That's what I don't understand.
Bring the lion out. Bring the lion.
Tonight on our show, we're going to have. Hey guys, don't you think it's kind of fun that you get to comment on the news? There's a cost. Oh yeah, there's a cost. People come after you. I think that's why this is so much fun, is because we'll see you at 5.
From the News Radio 1120 AM and 93.7 FM KPNW studios, I'm Bill Lundun, host of the Wake Up Call, 6 a.m. to 9 on KPNW weekdays. You can check us out on the stream at kpnw.com and click on Listen Now. You have the power. All right, here's a look at some of the stories we're following. Oh, and a bit of deja vu. 2 public hearings being held today by the Oregon Health Authority. One was putting masking inside schools and healthcare settings in place permanently. Does this sound familiar? The other one was to take public comment on vaccine requirements for educators and healthcare workers. And once again, the Oregon Health Authority says, well, if the proposals are adopted, they won't be in place forever. They'll only be temporary, but permanent. If that sounds familiar, well, that's just like last Thursday when hundreds signed up to voice their thoughts on the OHA's proposal to make all indoor masking permanent. And the majority of them said, no, don't do that. We don't trust you. You see, the reason for that is because the OHA, or at least part of it, has given the public zero in the way of metrics, benchmarks, and what science that they would use to eliminate these permanent rules. So here we are at it again today. 2 public meetings on basically, well, kind of the same things. So here's an idea. We've been living with these temporary mandates for well over 2 years, which means that every 6 months, the OHA has to go through the process of extending them for another 6 months. How about just continue doing that? Is that inconvenient? Live with it. You're getting paid to do your job. I know, it's hard. Sad face. And the other thing is, you just don't sound right when you use a statutory word like permanent and say that it's temporary. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, those two words are not synonyms. OED proves it out. So Oregon property owners were eager for relief after struggling without rental income during the COVID-19 pandemic. And once again, they're slapped down by misdirected funds. Thank you, Oregon Housing and Community Services, that keeps doling these checks out that keep bouncing. Now, before, some of the issue was that they had wrong tracking numbers on it. The latest problem is there's wrong information for landlords and tenants and even properties. So the checks can't be cashed, and these checks range between $4,000 and $11,000, leaving these landlords without any relief. A number of them are receiving checks for tenants that they have never had. In other cases, they're getting relief checks for properties they've never owned. Lauren Dressen of the Oregon Emergency Rental Assistance Program states that they've changed their process now for issuing the rental relief assistance to, in their words, collaborate more closely with property owners throughout the process so the checks arrive at the right place, listing accurate information. The information was probably correct to begin with. The folks on the state's end likely screwed it up. Do I sound bitter today? I sound bitter. So do you have an electric vehicle? Could you afford one? Would you want one? Well, it doesn't make any difference. Take a look at your utility bill that will come probably the 1st of February, because you're going to notice something new. With the start of the new year, power customers get to see a new charge on their electricity bills. Say hello to House Bill 2165 that was quietly rammed through at the last minute at the end of the 2021 Oregon legislative session. It requires utilities to collect a monthly fee starting in January for transportation electrification infrastructure. And of the funds collected, at least half has to be spent on underserved communities, which usually means poor communities full of people who cannot afford to buy an electric vehicle. According to the state of Oregon electric vehicle dashboard, yeah, they've got one, the majority of EV owners are actually Portland area residents in Clackamas, Washington, and Multnomah County. Of the 41,000 electric vehicles in the state, those three counties account for 26,500 of them. In fact, there's only 4 other counties outside of Clackamas, Washington, and Multnomah that have over 1,000 residents with electric vehicles. They're Deschutes, Lane, Jackson, and Benton counties, which together account for only 8,400 of the vehicles here in the state. This is kind of the long way around of saying right now, the poor, the working poor, people on a fixed income, and the middle class are supporting essentially the 1% who can afford to buy and register an electric vehicle in Oregon. And while some of the funds are going to be spent on other underserved communities, the reality is most EV owners are pretty much wealthy and from the Portland area. Cascade Policy Institute actually asks a wonderful rhetorical question. They say, when gas-powered cars came around, did the government need to build gas stations in order to get people to buy the cars? And my question I'll add to that is, and did they need to tax the hay used by horse owners to do it? So Oregon got some fantastic press in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend in a shout out about our decriminalization of all hard street drugs. And I'm just going to read you this little portion from the article that was about overall the war on drugs. I'll read you the quote. Professor Humphreys believes that tolerance has helped to feed a growing population of tent cabinets, often populated by drug users in cities all over the West Coast, including Venice Beach, California, which locals call Methlehem. He says removing social or legal disapproval of drug use doesn't seem to boost recovery. He says in Oregon, drug users receive a $100 fine that they can get waived by agreeing to a 20-minute phone call with social services to encourage them to enter a treatment program. At this point, in the state of Oregon, fewer than 1% have sought treatment, according to Professor Humphreys. Did I say fantastic press? I'm sorry, I misread that. I meant to say craptastic press. My bad. I'm sorry. We'll have one more. You can wait. Oregon Secretary of State Shemia Fagan rejected a petition to get school choice on the November 2024 ballot because it was not specific to one issue. The proposed measure would have included changes to the Oregon Constitution, allowing parents to choose any school for their child, and provide state funding for students homeschooling or in private schools, including those that offer a religious-based education. The petition came from Education Freedom of Oregon, a nonprofit based out of Tualatin, and Mark Thielman, the superintendent of the LC School District, who also happens to be a Republican candidate for governor. Anyway, according to Fagan, she said that she rejected the measure because it violated the state's single subject rule. Meanwhile, Donna Kreitzberg, executive director of Education Freedom for Oregon, wrote in an email the group's leaders are disappointed and they intend to appeal. All right, with that, it is time to get real, really real. Roll 'em in real, Rick.
Oh, sorry, Bill. Didn't mean to cut you off, but you know what? I can. I'm the only person who can cut Bill off. That's so great. The power of Zeus. He always says that about the Zero Res commercial. So now I have the power of Rick to cut him off. Oh, my train's coming, so I'll have to hurry here. We do have someone coming on Thursday at 5 o'clock from the legislature to talk about school choice. This is school choice week. They're going to talk about what I bet there's a lot of parents pretty open to school choice right now in Oregon. I just have this feeling. Anyway, I digress. So hold on. Here it comes. You guys, when I move to Montana, you will never hear that train again. So enjoy it. It's the Amtrak. All the visitors coming through Eugene. Toot, toot. They're having so much fun. And they all wave when they go by Rick Dancer's studio here. Well, Albert and Adam Bratlin. Well, Albert Roy and Adam Bratlin. Everybody that's in our show is not a Bratlin. I mean, we do have a lot of Bratlin here, but everybody is not a Bratlin. In fact, the first Bratlin in my life was Adam with Any Lab Test Now, Eugene. You guys, they do over 8,000 different tests. And I tell you, once people figure this out, Adam, you build, it's really easy to get people to understand. Once they get it, it's like I can take control of my health and my testing, just like I know Albert did. But you brought Albert on because he's not only a friend of mine, but he also watches the show and Albert just kind of changed your world a little bit with being able to do your own testing.
Absolutely. This for me, this started about 3.5 years ago. And I topped out at 300 pounds and had always kind of struggled understanding how it was that I had a phys ed degree, how it was that I was a national karate athlete and always had problems with weight. And because I have discipline in my life, I know how to discipline myself to go exercise and stuff like that. But what I didn't know is that there was a problem inside my body that was causing all of this. And I had read a book. It was called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. He's a Navy SEAL. And he talks about taking control of your life or taking control of your business. You know, the reason your business is in the shape it is because of you. You need to change. You know, you need to own up to this and do the change. And so I applied that to my health. And I said, I've got to control this. And I actually came down here and I collected data on my blood. I tested everything. And
So you go into any lab test now and they can check all your blood, whereas a doctor may not have said, well, Albert, you need to do X, Y, and Z. And you're going, no, I can come in here. They have a doctor's orders. I can come in and say, these are the tests I want because I have from this book an idea of what I'm looking for.
correct. There are tests that, maybe your doctor wouldn't normally ask you to go get. But I can come in here and say, I want this. I want to know my vitamin D number. I want to know my triglyceride number. I want to know my cortisol numbers, my SED rate, whatever. And these guys they just give it to me. They take my blood and they give me numbers via email.
Well, the other thing that I like about it too is a lot of times when I've gone to the doctor, it's like, well, let's do blood test A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it's like, well, actually, I just need A, B, C. And D, E, F, G makes this a really big bill. So I can get the testing that I know that I need. And enough of us now understand how our health works. Like Stephanie and Adam used to test my vitamin D for me. Because I was not sleeping well. And I knew that my vitamin D level was very low, so I could boost it. And then what I love about Stephanie too is she goes, we can give you the shots, Rick, and they're super effective. Or you can go get a supplement and take it yourself. So it's not like I'm buying into a program or, Shackley or something. I'm coming to a place where I'm getting professional medical help. How does that help you to be able to monitor your own blood that way?
Yeah. So I would come in, I would collect all of that data, and it's individualized. It's my data. It's not someone else's data. It's not what the AMA says. It's not their general rules. It's actually what's going on inside my body. And then I can make choices accordingly to adjust my diet or whatever. So I had lost 140 pounds, which was great. This was right before COVID. And life was great. I was thinner than I was in high school, and things were just wonderful, right? And when COVID hit, I decided to continue with the testing my own body, right? And so I went onto my doctor's diet, onto the American Medical Association's diet, which is the Mediterranean diet. And I have now gained back 40 pounds on their diet. Okay. So I came back in, I guess, 2 weeks ago, did all my tests again, looked at my triglycerides and my lipid panels and all these different things. And I'm like, yeah, not only am I heavier now, so my weight is up, but I can show what's going on in my blood work in the body. And it's the blood work that I need to change.
Well, Albert, do you want to mention that? So there's two different diets that Albert's working with. One is the AMA diet, which is Mediterranean, and the other one
is a ketogenic diet. So that's what I use to drop all of that weight.
So Adam, somebody's asking, can you do any lupus or MS testing?
That's a very good question. And I'll have to get back to you on that because Stephanie is the one who would actually know. And I mean, for a short answer, I would say yes, that we will do some kind of testing regarding lupus or MS, but I don't know if it's specifically what they want.
Okay, so Ben, you can just check in with them and they can answer it. Adam, you can have Stephanie just answer Ben's question right in the comments later.
Okay.
Pay attention. He's always on here. So anything like that. So Adam, is that like a pretty common story with people coming in and saying, there's certain things about either my diabetes or things like that I want to understand better and keep a really good track of those things.
Okay. Well, hey, first things first is that I didn't know Albert was a friend of yours before he came in. I overheard a conversation where he was talking to one of actually the doctor who oversees our practice here, our clinic. And I just thought it was a fascinating conversation because he's like, I'm the advocate for my own health. And then he was talking about his weight gain or weight drop. And then I called him and I asked him, and it turns out that he knew you, and it was perfect. I mean, that was great.
Well,
so yes, to answer your question, yes.
People go, so-and-so knows you. Yeah, I know you.
Yeah.
But I've been watching your health thing for a long time and seeing how and I know that this helps.
Well, since COVID, yes, absolutely. We are having, it's not just COVID testing that's increasing. It's all of our testing is increasing as people are starting to become a lot more aware of what's going on in their body. And for example, say the biggest keyword right now is vitamin D, because you just keep hearing about study after study about, how it helps your immunity, about how it prevents tooth decay. I mean, it's every other week you're hearing some great new news about vitamin D. So we're seeing an uptick in that, just pretty much everything across the board. And people are realizing when they come in here for COVID testing, oh, wow, I can get my cholesterol checked for $49 today, or whatever. I mean, there's just so many tests we have, and not all of them are expensive. We have so many tests that are $49. It's crazy.
Right. And you guys are, just you're less expensive on most things than other places. Plus, what I love about you,
every place, yeah.
No, but I love that I can come in there and I don't have to spend part of my insurance money, because my insurance doesn't cover anything. I'm basically catastrophic. If I fell off the bill, if I fall in front of the train, I might get some help. But so I don't have to waste that dollar going to the doctor to find out, oh, Rick, you need to have this done. I can go take care of all that myself. And I'm quite capable of doing that, especially with the information that's out there. When I had cancer, I learned real quick, I can do a lot of this kind of information and finding out things on my own. And so I think that's where, like you said, COVID has opened the door too. Plus people are going, I want to do my own research. I think we've created a culture of researchers where people really do, whether it's diabetes or fibromyalgia, whatever it is, people want to know what's going on with their body.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we do have, I don't want to sound anti-medical here, because we do have a lot of doctors, surgeons, nurses that come here and they refer patients to us as well. So when you talk about high deductible, we get a lot of doctor referrals. And even if somebody decides to come in here and get blood tests, it can also skip a step where they can take those blood tests, go talk to their doctor, and have a more intelligent, automatic conversation rather than going to the doctor, get the test, go back.
So I went in to my general practitioner because I have a hip surgery coming up, right? And so the GP had to sign off on the hip surgery. So I brought in all of your results that you printed, that you emailed me, brought them into the doctor, and I said, this is where I'm at. And she's like, I can't believe you have all this information, right? She was thrilled that I brought it to the exam.
Right.
And I knew exactly what, and so we did have an intelligence conversation about it. Yeah.
So Adam, somebody's asking, Jason's asking, do you take insurance? I know that you don't.
We don't.
But you take HSA cards, Jason, and if you guys don't have an HSA account, you're crazy. I mean, I am pro HSA accounts, because I'll tell you what, it's a great way to put money away in case you need it someday, and it's tax free. And that's how I pay for all my stuff like that. I just take it out of my HSA.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't. We're part of a franchise, and one of the guiding rules is that we cannot take insurance. Instead, we have discounted labs. So.
Okay, so really quick, Adam, I know you're talking with Albert, we got that, but I want to also, real fast, COVID testing. So because people, if they're going on a trip, kind of just go through the gamut really quickly so people know what kind of testing that you guys are doing, because you're really basically doing most of it.
Okay. So we're doing the rapid antigen still. And I know that there's, the government is sending people a lot of rapid antigen tests, and that's wonderful. Now, if the rapid antigen has to be certified, we do that here. And that is $79. We do PCR testing, and we have 6 PCR machines in-house in order to be able to process results within 2 to 4 hours.
So how many people, like on average, come in there like to do that? I mean, I'm just curious. It's like cocktail conversation. I'm having a gin and tonic talking to someone. Do you guys know how many people are getting tested? That's interesting to me.
Well, I would say, it depends, because there was a lot of other clinics in town that ran out of tests, and we were just bombarded. So I would say, 60 to 100 a day. And which with our staff is, we never turned anybody away for a test. Some of them had to wait a little bit longer than they wanted to, but everybody who walked in here and needed a test got a test that day. But yeah, we were overwhelmed. Things are starting to get a little bit better, now that the rapid antigen tests are being produced in higher volume and people can get their hands on them. There's been some supply shortage with the PCR test, but we were, when we heard about the outbreak in South Africa, we went ahead and loaded up on a ton of PCR supplies. So,
Well, I know that the government's now offering them, but it's like they're like 10 days out or something. It's like I can come in there. I kind of want to know sooner than that.
well, and that's what we have too. And plus, I don't think most people are doing the test when they test themselves are doing it appropriately.
Right.
And it depends on the test. Some of them you have to get pretty far back in there in order to get a real sample. So, but yeah, so we're doing the rapid antigen, we're doing the PCR, and a lot of what we're doing as well is the PCR testing for travel.
Okay. So
and one thing that's been great is that, I mean, I don't want to toot our own horn, but we've had travelers come in that have tested somewhere else and have not got their results back in time, and they're in our place at the last minute before they're driving to the Eugene airport to get on a plane to fly out of the country. So we have been able to produce results. We haven't missed a beat on that. And yeah, it's been tough, but it's been fun too and rewarding.
And I know you guys are really committed to get, like, before were doing the testing yourself there and the, doing the work. You were sending it off somewhere. You and Stephanie were up at like midnight waiting for people's numbers to come in because you understand travel. It's like people want to leave. They don't want to be sitting there waiting. And I know there were many sleepless nights for the two of you. Like you were just like lab rats, literally.
But it's rewarding too, Rick. And I'm going to say this really quick. I know that we're pressed for time, but Stephanie and I went to a lodge this weekend. It's called the Big K Lodge down in
I know it. Yeah, oh yeah, Elkton. Oh, you froze. Adam, you guys, wait, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, so you went to Elkton to the Big K.
You know the Big K?
Yeah.
She knows you, and she watches your show. She's probably watching right now. But anyway, so we were there. We were sitting down for dinner, and it was just us and another couple at the whole lodge and cabins, and it's a fantastic place when nobody's ever been to somewhere as remote as that. But anyway, we're sitting down. She asked us what we do, and Stephanie said, "Oh, we're with any Lab Test Now." And she's like, "Oh my God, I've talked to you. You saved my husband's life." Turns out it's a long story, but he was stuck on the Canadian border, and we were able to help find him another lab that could process his PCR instantly. And she was just grateful for that. But it's just weird how these things work out.
Well, one of the really cool things about how I met them is they used to do a really cool thing for cancer patients. They bring people who are terminal out there on a fishing trip. They'd stay in those cabins for a weekend. And I ended up doing a story with a guy, and it was kind of cool because we kind of hit it off talking and stuff like that. And I was interviewing him, and I said, "Can I ask you some other questions?" And he said, "Yeah." So I started asking him, "What would you say to your wife? The last thing you would say? What was the last thing you'd say to your kid?" Started asking him some really personal questions. He gets done and he goes, "Thank you for doing that. What are you going to do with that?" And I said, "Well, you're going to die, right?" And he goes, "I got 5 months." I said, "After you pass away, you're going to have your wife call me, and I'm going to send her the DVD with this video interview with you and me on it. And you're going to tell her everything you didn't tell her that you just told me." And when I sent that DVD to her, she wrote me back and she just said, "Oh my God, it was like he was speaking from the past. It was so cool." And it all happened because those people set up at the Big K. They set up a place where people get healed in different kind of ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really fun. Life is cool.
Phenomenal place. Yeah.
All interaction.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you. Any Lab Test Now, Eugene, what you do? So people, they're open from.
What's that again?
What's your hours, dude?
Oh, like Monday through Thursday, 9 to 6, and then Friday, 9 to 4.
See how I put him on the spot because he's.
And if there are large groups that need COVID testing for travel, they can call us to see if we can come in on Saturdays. So sometimes we'll do that too. Saturdays or maybe Sundays, but yeah.
And Albert, good luck on your hips when you're getting hippie. When you,
I will come out to Montana and go running with you on the trails.
okay, I'll take you out. We'll make sure you're behind me so the grizzly bear go get the one that has
The one that's slow, yes.
Albert, come on. No, you'll be fine. I can run faster than you. All right. See you guys later.
Okay,
Take care, bro.
Thank you. All right. Great people. Any lab tests now? Take control of your own medical health. And good seeing Albert again as well. So tonight we're going to leave you with a really, really amazing story too. Frank Moore, I met him back when I had brown hair, and I went down to shoot a story about a guy who was fly fishing, used to own the Steamboat Inn, worked for Tom McCall, father of the Oregon Forest Practices Act. He just had this list of things, and he was a fly fisherman, and he built his own home out of logs by himself. And flash forward now, then this story you're going to see in a second, I took those two stories and put them together. But let me tell you one of the coolest things about that story. While we're out shooting Frank do his thing, fishing, he comes away from the stream, the Umpqua, and we're walking up, and an Oscar Mayer Wienermobile pulls up, and the door opens like a spaceship, and out come these two, 20-year-olds, and Frank reels them in and invites them up for cheese sandwiches up at his log cabin. And that became the whole crux of that first story. That's not the one I'm showing you tonight, but that came to crux. You can go on YouTube and look it up. You'll find it. But then, and so Frank and Jeannie had been married for 79 years. Frank would be 99 next week. And last night at 6:16, I had heard that Frank wasn't doing well, or was in his final hours. And I called his daughter, who I'm in contact with all the time, and said, would you go tell Frank goodbye for me? And she wrote me back and said he already passed at 6:16. And so Frank already knows I said goodbye. And he was a wonderful man. He really knew how to bring people in. He was like a grandfather to me. And the world will sorely miss him. And one of the things I thought that was really, really sweet, that his wife said that his daughter wrote to me, and she said, yeah, mom's here, mom's fine. But she already said, I want him back. I think we can all relate to that. So I want to show you a real quick little video that the Steamboat Inn, Frank and Jeannie Moore owned the Steamboat Inn. Used to have guests like Ernest Hemingway, Jane Wynette, all these different movie stars. And this video they sent of them having a little hymnal song.
And so I thank the Lord for giving me the things I need, the sun and the rain and the family. The Lord is good to me. Amen, 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 amen.
So that's Frank and Jeannie Moore having a little dinner with some friends of theirs. And here's a story we produced a few years ago with using some of the video from the old story and some with the new. And this is a tribute to Frank and Jeannie Moore.
In a canyon where the mighty North Umpqua River flows, there is a pond. Near the pond, a log home. A log home built by Frank and Jeannie Moore.
A friend of mine said, okay, you're retiring, why don't you build a log house? And I, romantic that I was, I thought, oh, why not?
We met the Moores 23 years ago while working at KEZI TV. How our paths crossed, I do not remember, but the Moores I will never forget. In those days, we produced a segment about people. Oh, how I love telling their stories.
A quiet man who measures his life in friendships.
And took a chainsaw and ripped every log flat on top.
The log home Frank said he'd never finish, he probably never will. At age 92 and Jeannie close behind at 89, finishing the house is a low priority.
I fell in love with the man when I was first date with him. I was 15 years old, and there's just never ever been another man in my life.
Jeannie still hangs the clothes out to dry on a line inside or outside, depending on the weather. Frank still has a fish pond stocked with trout.
We got everything we need, each other.
The pair married 70 years ago.
I was shy, and he just doesn't live in a shy world. So I learned, I just exposed to a lot of people and learned how to be a little more open. So I'm pretty open now, anyway.
What stress we've had, we were able to ride over the top of it. And well, both of us, not just me, but both of us. And a lot of that was because of what we gave and received from each other.
Frank lost some hair since the first story we did. Mine lost its color. But here we are, two guys reconnecting as if time had no say and memories of a day still hang in the air. Frank still fishes and teaches others the art of casting and renewing old friendships.
Talking about politics, and I knew you did that one time, and I was hoping something would happen. And they're not there for the people. A lot of them start out that way, but they wind up, again, getting into themselves. You know, they become, what's in it for me, instead of what can I do for the people.
Frank worked for governors and new movie stars and writers. And since our story, Frank's story, appears on Oregon Public Broadcasting and even in a new documentary about he and Jeannie's life called Mending the Line.
And all 3,000 people in the auditorium, in the Keller Auditorium in Portland, erupted. 10-minute standing ovation. And there were 8 million, I think 8 million people or something like that watching on what, Twitter or something, I don't know. And if there were so many hits, it knocked it off the air. So that was really, really something, I'll tell you.
Spending time with Frank, you may not remember everything he says.
I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for what I have received.
Or how he casts a line.
Here, I'll lay down. No, that's right, get up there. Let me do it. You just follow me this time.
But what you do remember is how he makes you feel.
This is just move it.
You want that line to straighten out and back before you come forward. Live for other people as well as yourself.
Frank and Jeannie Moore connect with people.
But things that happen in your life that you think are the end of the world, you just go on. You see what new direction you find in it.
Jeannie gives me so much. She does. She just gives me so much joy, and I don't know. Just my life is so fulfilled.
Love is more than a word to the Moores. It's an action, and they don't preach it. Instead, they live it.
Yep. And God, life can be good. Life can be good if you let it. So many of us in life seem like we strive too hard, and when we do, sometime we destroy the very thing that we should be receiving in life. And whether it be in marriage or work or anything else, you do the best you can without killing yourself.
I will probably never get to tell another story about Frank and Jeannie Moore, even though Frank says he will live to 110.
What would you want to do tomorrow? And I had used just one word: live.
Frank understands he's not the author of his life, and endings are in the hands of someone mightier than he.
I like a simple life, I'll put it that way. I like a simple life. And out of that simple life, one of the greatest gifts is, as I said earlier, is the gift of friendship.
Frank is the first guy to tell you his life isn't perfect, but he's lived a perfectly amazing life.
I don't know. I don't know why I've been so blessed, but I really have been, with a wonderful wife and family, and I've received so many honors that I in my judgment, I haven't deserved.
He's lived a full life and done it well. The real gift to his story is to the writer who his story gets to tell.
So, one other side note that the Moores lost their log home and everything in it in the fires in the Iroquois 2 years ago when we had all the fires in Oregon. Their house was gone. And he got his medals back because his daughter fought for them. And I'm sure that hurt. But the foundation of Frank and Jeannie Moore was not a house. It was God. And it was the love that they had. Frank Moore, I will miss you. And Jeannie, I'm so sorry. But you know what's kind of funny? And I'm not trying to make this about, my life or anything, but when people come into your life, they affect your life. And there's a reason that they come into your life and they impact your life. And I think that Frank Moore was the grandpa I never had. And he was always giving me great words of wisdom. And Frank has now gone on and left Oregon. And now I feel like, in a weird sort of way, that I can too. And he's showing me the way. What did he say in there? Go live your life. Don't get stuck in stuff. Thank you, Frank. And now I'm looking on here on my comments, and I'm going to bring in one other thing in because I can. It's my show and I can do what I want. MJ Church, amazing people. What a gift. Well, MJ Church, your mother was also a gift to me. That little lady loved me so much. And we met at a coffee shop in Florence, Oregon. And I did a story on her. And Marge and I became the dearest of friends. It sounds kind of weird. Maybe it's just the mood I'm in. I don't know. Leaving lots of things and people and stuff behind. And I will miss all of you. But you've all been a part of my life. Marge, Frank, Jaya, Donna Jackson, Marcy, and so many people. Frank Moore, you were amazing. And what I loved about his, you notice he always gave credit to Jeannie and God. He knew he was nothing without her. And he was everything with her. So you have just been able to see an amazing story, and I hope that you will share that with other people and let them know of the truly great Oregonians and the people we have in our state. And there are so many more. And we're going to find other people like that in Montana for you to meet and remind you that this is a wonderful thing we've been given. And the more we live it, you can exist and you can survive. Not me. Kathy and I are going to choose to do what Frank and Jeannie Moore did. We're going to live and thrive on the adventure. Thank you, Frank Moore, for showing me how to do that. Oh, and I want to throw a name out there just in case anybody, Richard Gorsuch, you were another person who entered my life and taught me so much. Those are stories for other times. All right, I'm just taking up more time here. You guys got other things to do. Share it on your page. Yeah, Ann Wood, I like this. Choose life. Oh, that is so great. Thanks, Aaron. It's nice talking to you too, buddy. MJ, that little woman, your mom. Oh, so okay, I gotta tell one more funny story. So I did a story with her and her friends of the red coats or the red hats or whatever the hell they were. And they took me down and they didn't realize I had them mic'd up. And they're all flirting with me. So these little old ladies are all sitting there having lunch talking about how cute I am and how they're flirting with me. And they had no idea that in the microphone on the tape, I'm hearing the whole thing. Oh, nasty little girls. Oh, she loved me too. She loved me so much, and I loved her so much too. So many. All right. Have a good night. And thank you all for coming on here and seeing this and honoring. And say a little prayer for Jeannie and her and the family. Because how do you lose something like that? You know, a man like that. And anyway. All right. Have a good night.